The moment the massive steel gates thundered shut behind him, Aiden's breath caught in his throat. He stood alone on the polished obsidian floor of the Thronex Arena, an amphitheater the size of a small moon, surrounded by tiers of alien spectators whose shapes defied human logic. Neon spotlights crisscrossed the vast chamber, illuminating the chrome finish armor of the Dominion soldiers who flanked him. Their helms reflected his terrified face back at him, distorted into 1,000 fragments. A low, mechanical hum filled the air, punctuated by the distant roar of the crowd. Somewhere in the darkness, speakers crackled to life, broadcasting an announcer's booming voice in a dozen tongues. Subject X-117 of Earth, it intoned, has volunteered, through unauthorized stowaway protocol, to entertain the masses in the Tournament of Champions. The official tone dripped with irony. No human had ever volunteered, and no stowaway had ever survived. Aiden's legs trembled as two insectoid guards, their mandibles clacking like castanets, prodded him forward with electro-whips. Every step echoed in the cavernous dome. Sweat beaded at Aiden's temples, tasting of salt and dread. He glanced over the arena's edge, through the transparent energy barrier, and saw a kaleidoscope of species. The tall, lithe Learthari, with translucent skin, the burly Vorkan brutes with obsidian horns, the crystalline Zelor whose faceted bodies shimmered with inner light. They leaned forward, as if smelling fresh prey. Aiden's mind raced back to how he'd arrived here. Only hours ago, he'd slipped aboard a smuggler's freighter bound for the Orion Belt, clinging to the hull in a desperate bid to escape his dying homeland. He'd imagined freedom among the stars, but the universe had other plans. The moment the freighter docked at a Dominion station, automated scans detected his unauthorized presence. Protocol was merciless. All unregistered lifeforms were to be immediately disposed of, or in special cases conscripted into the arena. He stumbled into the center platform, a circular dais carved from black granite. The energy barrier shimmered into place behind him with a hiss. Above, hollow projectors surrounding the arena plastered his face across the gigantic domed ceiling. Aiden's pulse thundered in his ears as he stared at himself, transfixed by his wide, terrified eyes. Suddenly, two more gates on the opposite side of the arena slid open. A cacophony of roars erupted as the creature emerged. A hulking monstrosity, at least 3 meters tall. Its serpentine neck arched, scales rippling like molten silver. 4 eyes, each the size of a man's fist, fixed on Aiden with keen intelligence. Muscles corded beneath its plated hide, and serrated horns curved back. From its skull, a low growl vibrated through the floor. Aiden's throat went dry. He pressed himself against the energy barrier, seeking any possible refuge. The insectoid guards released the creature, and it bounded toward him with surprising grace. Each step cracked the granite platform. The announcer's voice echoed again, "Engage." Aiden's legs buckled as the beast closed the distance. He raised his hands instinctively, but his palms met only empty air. The creature lunged, and time slowed. The crowd's roar blurred into a distant wave. Aiden's eyes flicked to the shadowed rim of the arena, where Commander Jarkala watched from her high vantage. Helmet off for the first time in centuries, her cobalt skin glowed beneath her crest, but she remained motionless, inscrutable. The beast's jaws snapped shut inches from him, and Aiden braced for the end. His mind screamed, "Fight or die," but his body was numb. He could feel the heat of its breath, smell the tang of alien bloodlust. Then, in that frozen heartbeat before impact, something inside him shifted, a spark of awareness, as though the very air around him pulsed with untapped energy. The creature halted mid-lunge, confusion rippling through its sinews. Aiden's heart thundered as he realized he wasn't out of options yet. The arena fell into an uneasy silence, broken only by the mechanical hum and the soft hiss of the energy barrier. Somewhere deep within the crowd, a whisper spread. "What is this human? What power does he hold?" And in that pregnant moment, before predator and prey could resume their deadly dance, something stirred in the heart of the boy from Earth, something the Dominion had never anticipated. Aiden's heart thundered as the mercurial beast coiled its serpentine body, readying for another savage strike. The air around him seemed to pulse with the creature's anticipation, vibrations rippling through the black granite platform. His chest tightened in a convulsion of primal fear. He gulped in a ragged breath and his senses screamed at him to flee, but he was trapped by the shimmering energy barrier behind him. Then came the hum, a quiet, insistent vibration at the base of his skull, as if the arena itself were tuning into his heartbeat. Aiden's panic faltered. His vision tunneled inward, and suddenly everything slowed. The creature's 4 eyes, the glint of its serrated horns, the distant murmur of the alien crowd. In that pregnant instant, a pale silver light flickered in Aiden's pupils. It began as a pinprick, then bloomed until his entire gaze shimmered like molten metal. The arena lights dimmed and a low, resonant silence swept through the stands. Aiden felt warmth rise from his core, spreading outward along his arms until his fingertips trembled with energy. Tiny arcs of electric blue crackled between his hands, hissing against the air. The beast's advance halted mid-lunge, its head whipped side to side, nostrils flaring as it sniffed at Aiden's outstretched palms. Instead of roaring, it emitted a low, reverent chuff, an alien sound that sent a thrill of awe through the crowd. Guard commanders shouted into their wrist communicators, and the hollow boards flickered with red warning bars. Anomaly detected in subject X-117. Initiate Protocol Alpha. Soldiers raised their plasma rifles but found their muscles locked in hesitation. Never before had a human exhibited such power. The insectoid guards crept backward, jointed limbs clacking uncertainly. Above them all, Commander Jar Kala's voice crackled through the arena's speakers, calm, authoritative, and utterly unexpected. Hold your fire. Aiden's mind reeled. He lowered his arms and the sparks sizzled out like dying stars. The beast bowed its massive head, cresting foam at the corners of its maw. In the stunned hush, Aiden took his first steady breath in what felt like hours. Around him, the Dominion's so-called Tournament of Champions ground to an abrupt halt, and somewhere deep within him, something ancient and powerful had awakened, something that would change the fate of every soul in the galaxy. Commander Jarkala descended the crystalline stairs from her vantage box, each step leaving a faint trail of azure light in its wake. The vast amphitheater fell into a stunned silence, every pair of alien eyes fixed on her lithe, statuesque form. Even the energy hum of the arena seemed to hold its breath. She reached the black granite platform's edge and halted a respectful distance from Aiden, her obsidian hair cascading over armor that seemed to be woven from pure starlight. Her cobalt skin glimmered under the arena lights, and the crest atop, her brow, an ancient symbol of Dominion authority, pulsed softly with each of her measured breaths. Aiden of Earth, she began, her voice resonant, yet tempered with an unexpected warmth. Explain yourself. She extended a slender hand, holding a palm-sized spectroanalyzer, its multi-lens array whirring as it swept across Aiden's form. Aiden swallowed. The analyzer's readouts danced in holographic projection above its surface, electromagnetic fluctuations, unknown energy signatures, and, most startling, glyphs of a lost civilization etched into the boy's cellular structure. He forced his voice steady. I don't know how I did that. One moment I was terrified. The next, he trailed off, gesturing at the fading arcs of blue light still crackling between his fingers. Sharkala's violet eyes narrowed as she absorbed the data. The etheric mark, she whispered, more to herself than to him. She pivoted to address the surrounding soldiers. Hold position. The insectoid guards lowered their whips. Plasma rifles clicked as safety locks re-engaged. The crowd's collective sigh rippled through the stands like a tide drawing back from the shore. Stepping closer, the commander spoke without her formal protocol. Long ago, before the divine ascendancy and the forging of the Dominion, there existed an empire of ethermancers, beings who commanded the raw energies of creation itself. They were destroyed for their power, all except one. She paused, letting the weight of her revelation settle. That survivor's bloodline has been thought extinct for millennia, until now. Aiden's heart pounded. Survivor? Bloodline? He repeated, voice trembling. Jarkala knelt so her eyes were level with his. You are the heir, she said softly. You carry within you the spark of a lost legacy, a power the Dominion both fears and covets. She held out her hand, palm up. Will you come with me? I offer you sanctuary and answers. A tense moment passed. The boy felt the weight of dozens of weapons aimed at him, the gaze of untold species, and the burden of a cosmos shaping destiny. He looked into Jarkala's earnest eyes that did not burn with hatred or conquest, but with something faintly akin to hope. Finally, he placed his trembling palm in hers. A soft glow flared where their skin met, and the spectroanalyzer's hologlyphs shimmered and dissolved. Around them, the arena trembled with possibilities. Of rebellion, of rediscovered magic, and of a war that had only just begun. The moment Aiden's palm met Jarkala's, a surge of warmth rippled through him, like sunlight breaking a perpetual dawn. Behind his closed eyelids, fragments of memory flickered. Star-forged temples carved from obsidian, pillars inscribed, with swirling runes and a chorus of distant voices calling his true name. He staggered and Jarkala caught him before he fell, her touch steady and reassuring. When his vision cleared, he found himself in a secluded chamber beneath the arena, its walls lined with murals depicting the rise and fall of the Ethermancers. Bioluminescent vines curled over frescoes showing a great war in which gargantuan elemental titans clashed beneath storm-forged skies. Jarkala guided him to a crystalline pool at the room's center. Its surface reflected not his face, but a tapestry of cosmic energy swirling in shades of violet and gold. Look, Jarkala whispered, gesturing to the pool. As Aiden knelt and leaned forward, the water rippled and formed images. A lineage of ancestors, human in form, yet glowing with an inner light, each wielding the raw power of the ether. He saw one ancestor channel a torrent of stellar fire to protect a besieged world, another reshape barren moons into garden spheres. The bloodline's legacy had been one of creation and defense, but jealousy and fear had turned brother against brother, and in the end the empire had fallen from within. Aiden trembled. Why was I hidden? Why now? His voice was barely more than a breath. Jarkala placed a hand on his shoulder. Your parents sacrificed everything to keep you safe. They scattered clues across the galaxy, ancient codices, guardian relics, secret enclaves, so that if a spark of the ether ever reawakened, you could claim your heritage. She pointed to a carved niche in the wall where a pendant lay, a teardrop-shaped crystal faintly glowing with silver light. This is your birthright. It will guide you to the others who survived in hiding. As Aiden reached out, the crystal pulsed and a soft hum filled the chamber. Images of distant worlds scrolled through his mind. A monastery perched on an ice-covered moon. An underground library buried beneath the sands of an uncharted desert planet. A hidden sanctuary floating in the rings of a gas giant. Each location held remnants of Ethermancer lore, and each was waiting for him. Before he could speak, alarms blared overhead. The rebellion had started. Rebels and covert operatives were breaching the arena's corridors, seeking to reclaim Aiden for their cause. Jarkala rose, her armor igniting with radiant filaments of power. We must move, she commanded. With the Dominion in disarray, now is our chance to unite the hidden enclaves and ignite the next chapter of our legacy. Clasping the crystal pendant, Aiden felt a new resolve swell within him. No longer was he merely a terrified boy trapped in a gladiatorial spectacle. He was the linchpin of a long-lost empire's renaissance. Together with Jarkala and the burgeoning rebellion, he took his first step toward fulfilling the promise of the ether, to restore hope and creation to a galaxy on the brink of tyranny. Aiden raced down the obsidian corridors of the arena alongside Jarkala and a squad of rebel warriors, the crystal pendant ablaze with silver light against his chest. Behind them, alarms wailed as Dominion troops scrambled to contain the uprising. Ahead, the main exit stood half shut, its hydraulic seals beginning to buckle under the weight of rebel siege engines. The crackle of energy rifles and the clash of vibroblades echoed through the halls, but Aiden felt only the steady hum of the ether guiding him. When they burst into the arena's grand plaza, the crowd had spilled onto the floor, rebels and freed captives alike, surrounding the defeated insectoid guards and disarmed soldiers. At Aiden's gesture, Jarkala raised the crystal high. Instantly, a wave of luminescent energy rippled outward, washing over the plaza like a tide of dawn. Dominion weapons powered down in the field, helmets clattered to the ground. Even, the hollow projectors flickered and went dark. A breathless silence fell. Far above, across the galaxy, hidden enclaves felt the same resonance. On the ice moon of Yarel, monastic ethermancers awoke from their vigil. In the desert archives of Cache 10, librarians felt tomes stir with new power. Among the ring fortresses of Vespera, guardians felt the crystal's call. One by one, their resonant cries joined in a chorus that pulsed back to Aiden, affirming that he was not alone in this fight. Back in the arena, Jarkala turned to the assembled crowd. "The Dominion's reign ends today," she proclaimed. "From this moment, we forge a coalition of worlds united by freedom, creativity, and the protection of all life." Aiden stepped forward, heart pounding. He could feel the ether swirling within him, gentle, compassionate, yet infinitely powerful. Raising his voice, he added, "Together, we will rebuild what was lost. We will honor the legacy of the Ethermancers, not as conquerors, but as guardians of hope." As the crowd erupted in cheers that shook the very foundations of the arena, Aiden allowed himself a small, triumphant smile. Gone was the terrified stowaway. In his place stood the etheric heir, poised to shepherd a new era. With Jarkala at his side and the hidden enclaves rallying to their cause, the galaxy's long night of tyranny was finally giving way to the first rays of a true and lasting dawn.